Why does one 52-year-old woman feel invisible, while another at 48 is relentlessly pursued? It's not her age, it's not her looks, it's her emotional power. And in this video, I'll show you the 4 phrases that unlock it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're exploring the hidden psychology behind, well, meaningful human connection. And today we're tackling something, a paradox, really, that kind of flips everything we assume about attraction on its head. I want you to just picture this scenario. It's something we've seen happen again and again in the real world. Okay, so you've got one woman. She's 52. Educated, successful, financially secure. Yet she feels totally overlooked, invisible almost. She has this deep belief, that she's kind of lost her moment, that she just doesn't register anymore in the dating world or even just making connections. Now picture another woman. She's 48. Similar background, similar life achievements, but she's being relentlessly pursued. We're talking calls, dates, genuine, serious interest. She's clearly desirable. So what is the actual difference here between these two? It's not the 4 years. It's definitely not some secret diet or exercise plan. It's not about who has more money or a nicer house. If we just look at the surface stuff, we completely miss what's really going on.
That's exactly it. That observation is really the core of this deep dive today. What our research with the psychology tells us is that the difference isn't something you can easily measure on the outside. It's deeper. It exists in the realm of profound emotional depth. So our mission today really is to cut through all that noise, what society tells us matters, and actually reveal the neuroscientific reasons why some people leave this lasting, indelible mark, while others, well, despite having a lot going for them, they just sort of fade.
And we're getting specific here. We're really going to dive into the brain science. Understand why certain words, especially when they're delivered with that authentic weight of experience, why they resonate so much, why they stick. We're going to analyze these specific communication tools. Tools that are really rooted in high-level self-awareness. We're calling it strategic honesty. It's what experienced individuals often have, this ability to anchor themselves in someone else's long-term memory.
Yeah, it's almost like a shortcut to being memorable, but an authentic one. We want to show you how the brain actually filters information, how it decides, which conversations are worth holding on to, and importantly, how you can help ensure that your own connection points, the important ones, land in that sort of high security vault in memory, not just tossed out. And hey, if you find these kinds of insights valuable, this is actually a great moment to let us know. Go ahead and hit that like button, maybe subscribe if you haven't. We're building a community here really focused on understanding the deep psychology behind relationships, and your feedback, especially in the comments below, it genuinely helps us figure out which complex topics you want us to unpack next. So let us know.
Okay, so let's get into this core idea then. This realization that, according to the psychological research we're looking at, men don't fundamentally fall in love with youth itself. They fall in love with the emotional depth a woman awakens in them.
That is such a critical shift in perspective, isn't it? Because it just immediately throws out that whole societal script that says youth equals value and attraction. Think back to that contrast you set up. The 52-year-old, she's focused on what she thinks she's lost, which is youth. The 48-year-old, though, seems focused on what she's gained, which is the wisdom, the ability to create an emotional impact. So the 48-year-old wasn't winning because she looked younger. She was winning because she was activating something deeper emotionally.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here. If it's not youth, if it's all about this depth, then why do so many of us, myself included sometimes, immediately jump to age or, physical appearance as the reason someone's successful or unsuccessful in relationships?
Well, because it's easy, right? It's visible. Our conscious minds, the sort of surface level thinking, they love easy metrics, age, looks, job. They're simple categories. But the deeper parts of our brain, the unconscious parts that really drive attraction and that feeling of connection, they're much more sophisticated than that. They're constantly scanning underneath the surface for clues that predict things like long-term safety, emotional reward, things that actually matter for bonding. And honestly, surface traits, they're pretty poor predictors of that stuff. Emotional engagement, though, that's a really strong signal.
All right, let's talk mechanics then. When we experience something that really hits us emotionally, where does that memory go in the brain? And why does it get priority over just, everyday stuff? This is the neuroscience bit you mentioned. Memory and connection.
Right. So we need to talk about the limbic system. You can think of it as the brain's emotional core. It sits underneath the cortex, the thinking part. And crucially, it includes areas like the amygdala, that's like the emotional tagger. It flags experiences with significance. And the hippocampus, which is vital for actually forming and retrieving long-term memories. See, the human brain is all about efficiency. It has to be. It just can't store every single mundane detail of every minute of your life. It would be completely overwhelmed. So it has this built-in filter. If an event triggers a strong emotional response, could be joy, surprise, deep trust, even something mildly startling. The amygdala basically sends a signal. It tells the hippocampus, hey, pay attention. This one's important for survival or maybe for future decisions. Log this properly.
Ah, okay. So if a conversation is just neutral, like
Right.
predictable small talk, the weather, what you did at work, but without any real feeling, it's not even treated like junk mail. It's just instantly deleted because storing it would cost too much energy.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a good way to put it. We call this process emotional encoding. Think of your memory not like a filing cabinet where everything gets a folder, but more like a high-security archive, a neutral exchange. It's like a routine memo. Scanned, noted as unimportant, and gone. But when an experience creates that intense emotional resonance, the whole limbic system lights up. That strong activation, it essentially wraps the memory in this kind of biochemical priority tape, seals it for long-term storage. And that's why those memories become so vivid, so persistent. They feel more durable.
Wow, that distinction is huge. It means the goal for connection isn't just spending lots of time together. It's about creating moments of real emotional impact. Intensity, almost.
Precisely. Superficial chats fade almost instantly. Why? Because they don't light up those emotional centers. No priority signal gets sent. But a conversation, even a really short one, if it creates genuine emotional impact,
Yeah.
it gets remembered much, much longer. It sticks because the brain has flagged it. High-value data here. This tells you something important about connection or maybe even avoidance for the future.
Okay, critical follow-up question then. If we're talking about intense emotion, does that mean negative intensity works too? Like a huge argument or feeling betrayed? Those are remembered strongly, right?
Yeah.
So are we just aiming for any kind of intensity, good or bad?
That's a brilliant question. And yeah, it highlights a really important nuance. Yes, absolutely. Trauma and intense negative experiences, they get encoded even more strongly, sometimes too strongly, leading to things like PTSD. The brain desperately wants you to remember threats so you avoid them. Survival mechanism, right? But obviously that's not what we're aiming for in building positive connections. We're not looking for trauma encoding. We're aiming for connection encoding. We want positive emotional impact. Things like surprise, deep trust, feeling genuinely seen and validated, feeling safe. These positive markers create what psychologists sometimes call a trace memory. You might even forget the exact words that were said weeks later. But you remember the feeling, that emotional fingerprint, and that fingerprint is what motivates someone to seek you out again. They're subconsciously looking to re-experience that feeling of being valued or safe or spark that they associate with you.
Okay, so if emotional impact is the key, this brings us to a major hurdle, especially, it seems, for women who have a lot of life experience. This idea you mentioned, the syndrome of safe conversation.
Yeah, it's a really paradoxical trap that comes with maturity sometimes. Think about it. Many mature women have built incredible resilience. They're independent, managed careers, maybe raised families, navigated tough times. They're strong. Yet when it comes to new connections, particularly romantic ones maybe, they often retreat. They default to what we're calling safe communication. Pleasantries, neutral topics, nothing too revealing. And why? Well, often it's fear, isn't it? Fear of vulnerability, maybe fear of being judged. Or sadly, sometimes it's this outdated belief that, oh, I'm too old to flirt, or I shouldn't be too forward. It often becomes a defense mechanism built up over years where maybe being vulnerable did lead to hurt. So they prioritize safety over substance.
Right. So they're using all that hard-won wisdom and life skill to actively avoid emotional risk and the result of playing it safe, of sticking to those predictable neutral conversations.
The result is they fail completely to create any emotional impact. Zero. They're communicating in a way that protects their ego, maybe, but in doing so, they're actually squandering their greatest asset, which is their maturity, their depth. The conversation is safe, sure, but it's also sterile. It doesn't trigger any limbic activation. So the brain just filters it out, instantly forgotten. They end up feeling invisible, not because of their age, but because of this self-imposed emotional neutrality they've adopted.
That's actually quite sad when you put it like that.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, the sources are clear. Maturity gives you tools. Like an informed perspective, real empathy from experience,
Yeah.
the ability to read between the lines, stuff a 20-year-old just hasn't had the time or experience to develop yet.
Absolutely. That wisdom, the kind that comes from navigating real relationships, facing actual crises, learning what truly matters in life, that's the superpower. That's the unused advantage. The problem usually isn't a lack of depth. It's often a belief that the depth is somehow a liability now, or maybe just not knowing how to wield it effectively, strategically, in moments where connection could happen.
Okay, so let's pivot to the solution then. How do we consciously use that depth? This brings us to the concept you introduced, strategic honesty. What does that really mean? It's more than just being honest, right?
Right. Strategic honesty is the difference between, say, just blurting out everything that crosses your mind, which can be overwhelming and maybe even inappropriate already, and knowing exactly what piece of truth to share when the moment is right to share it. And this is crucial, understanding the internal emotional place you need to be in when you say it to create that lasting connection. It's really about being selective, intentional with your intimacy and vulnerability.
Okay, I need to clarify this because I know for some listeners the word strategic can immediately sound, well, manipulative. Are we talking about psychological tricks here, or is this genuinely about being authentic?
No, it's absolutely the latter. The sources we're drawing on are very clear about this. These aren't manipulative tactics. They're authentic connection tools that are rooted in mature psychology. If you try to use them falsely, just as a technique, they fall flat instantly. Because, as we kind of touched on, mature people, especially men who've had some life experience, tend to have pretty well-developed BS detectors or neediness sensors. They sense inauthenticity. Strategic honesty means choosing to share something genuinely true about yourself or your perception, but choosing the truth that will have the highest positive impact at that particular moment. So for instance, instead of giving like 10 neutral facts about your workday, you offer maybe one very specific, emotionally resonant observation about him or one carefully chosen personal reflection about yourself that relates to the conversation. The women who make the biggest impact, according to this research, aren't the ones who talk the most or try the hardest to please everyone. They're the ones who use their lived experience to deliver these select, deeply resonant, you called them truth bombs earlier, that just cut through all the surface noise.
Got it. So it's about being discerning with our authenticity, using it wisely to maximize emotional impact while staying true to ourselves. It sounds like shifting from being just a passive person in a conversation to becoming a really skilled, emotionally aware communicator. All right, let's get practical. Application time. The research highlights 4 specific phrases. Phrases that apparently carry huge psychological weight. But, and this is the key you keep stressing, their power is massively amplified when they're delivered by someone who has real-life experience backing them up.
That's the essential point. Yes, when someone less experienced uses these phrases, they might sound nice, maybe charming, but often lack that staying power, forgettable. But when a mature woman uses them, genuinely, they land with this instant credibility, this informed sincerity. Okay, let's break them down. First phrase. This one taps into that really powerful, almost primal desire we all have to feel special, chosen, set apart. The words are, I've never told anyone this before.
Ah, okay. The exclusivity effect.
Exactly. It instantly triggers that feeling. The psychological mechanism is that rush you get from feeling like you've been granted special access, insider status. It signals to the listener, you are trusted, you are unique, you're different from the others. That's a huge emotional reward.
And you mentioned earlier, the research suggests this doesn't have to be some massive, earth-shattering secret, right? Sometimes small, personal things work just as well.
Precisely. The goal isn't melodrama, it's authentic disclosure, creating a moment of confidence. It could be a quirky childhood memory, maybe a private thought you had about an experience you both shared, or even a small personal habit you don't normally talk about. The key is the act of choosing to trust him with something personal, something not freely shared. His brain registers that not just as data, but as a significant step in the relationship. A signal, my trust has been earned here. It wasn't just given away easily.
And there's data on the memorability, too. Something like 2/3 of people remember conversations involving personal confidences.
Yeah, the figure often cited is around 68% of people clearly remember conversations involving personal confidences. That's significantly higher than recall for just general chit-chat. And think about it. When that confidence comes from a woman who, by virtue of her life experience, has likely learned to be more selective about who she opens up to, the impact is exponential. Her choice to share with him demonstrates what we could call informed sincerity. He understands, consciously or unconsciously, that she probably doesn't share easily. So the gift to her confidence feels incredibly valuable. It's a moment where the conversation shifts gear. It stops being just casual and starts feeling foundational.
Okay, powerful stuff. Let's move to the second phrase. This one goes way beyond typical compliments, you said. It connects the woman's own internal feeling, her well-being, directly to his presence. The phrase, "You make me feel like I'm 25 again."
Right.
The psychological brilliance here is that it bypasses the part of the ego that wants praise for, say, looks or money. Instead, it targets the part of the ego that wants validation for having a positive impact on others. You're not complimenting his shirt, you're complimenting the powerful positive effect his presence has on your internal state, your emotional landscape.
Got it. So she's not saying, oh, I wish I was 25. That's not the point. She's identifying those specific feelings often associated with youth, maybe spontaneity, lightness, excitement, being surprised, and she's linking the reawakening of those feelings directly to him. Exactly. It's an acknowledgement of his power to inspire those feelings in her. And this is where, again, the informed perspective of maturity becomes a superpower. The more life experience she has, the more she understands the true value of those feelings. Spontaneity, genuine lightness. They often become rarer, harder-won emotions as we age. So to attribute the return of those feelings, even temporarily, to him, that's an incredibly high-value compliment. She knows what she's talking about. And this connects to research showing something like 72% of men better remember praise related to the effect they have on others, rather than just praise for their possessions or maybe even looks. They want to feel like they make a positive difference.
And why does that informed sincerity aspect make it so much more impactful coming from a mature woman compared to someone, say, in her actual 20s?
Because she has a basis for comparison. She has context. If a woman who is 25 says, "You make me feel alive," oh, okay, that's nice. But maybe the last guy made her feel alive too. It lacks the weight of experience. But when an experienced woman says, "You make me feel like I'm 25 again," he knows her words are calibrated against decades of life. She knows what feeling truly alive feels like, and maybe more importantly, she knows what it feels like when that feeling isn't there. So her words aren't just flattery, they feel like a validated assessment of his unique positive influence on her. That's powerful.
Okay, phrase number 3. This one taps into a really deep-seated need, you said, to feel capable, effective, competent. The words. I admire how you handled that situation.
Yes, this speaks directly to that core need, often particularly strong in men but present in everyone, to feel competent. We all need to feel like we can solve problems, navigate challenges effectively. For many men, this is deeply tied to their sense of identity and self-worth. So by specifically recognizing his ability to handle something difficult, maybe pressure, maybe a complex problem, maybe even just a tricky social dynamic, you're validating something essential about his character and capability. Notice it's specific too. You're not just saying you're smart or you're good. You're saying, I observed you in that specific challenge and I recognized your skill or judgment or composure as exceptional. That specificity makes it much more meaningful and rewarding.
And this links directly to relationship science, right?
Right.
Like Dr. John Gottman's work on what makes relationships last, mutual admiration being key.
Absolutely. Gottman's research, especially on couples he termed the masters of relationships, consistently shows that successful, long-lasting couples maintain a high ratio of positive interactions to negative ones. Like 5-to-1 is the magic number often cited. And expressions of genuine admiration and appreciation are fundamental to keeping that positive balance tipped correctly. It's like an antidote to criticism or contempt. Now, when a mature woman offers this kind of admiration, it's not just starry-eyed praise, it's what we could call educated recognition. She's likely seen countless other people handle similar situations, maybe poorly, maybe okay, maybe brilliantly. Her admiration comes with decades of comparative context. It carries weight.
That must create a really powerful, almost addictive emotional association for him, doesn't it?
Totally. The brain starts to link her presence with that positive emotional reward of feeling competent, feeling valued, feeling truly seen and recognized for his effectiveness. If she becomes a consistent source of this specific, genuine, educated validation, he'll unconsciously start seeking out her presence to get that positive emotional feedback. It feels good. So many people fall into the trap of constantly trying to fix or critique their partners. Flipping that dynamic, focusing instead on recognizing and admiring competence, it instantly makes you stand out as a uniquely valuable person to be around.
Okay, final phrase, number 4. This one seems to go even deeper, touching on fundamental needs for security and trust. The bedrock of love, really. The phrase, "I feel so safe next to you."
This one is incredibly potent. It activates those deep, almost ancestral instincts. For many men, that protective instinct, the drive to be a safe harbor, a refuge for someone important, it's profound. So this phrase is like a direct acknowledgement of his success in fulfilling that role. It speaks volumes about his character, his reliability. But again, we have to be really clear. The safety we're primarily talking about here isn't just physical protection, it's emotional and psychological safety.
Right. So what's the depth of that emotional security that maybe only a mature woman can truly convey with this phrase?
It means she feels secure enough with him to lower her guard, to put down the armor she's likely had to build over the years. It means she feels safe enough to be vulnerable, to express her true self without fearing judgment or dismissal or being hurt emotionally. It signifies that he, specifically, has earned the right to see her most unguarded, authentic self. Now, think about the difference. When a younger woman says this, it's lovely, it's a compliment, but it might lack the same comparative weight. But when a woman who has truly navigated life's challenges, financial storms, emotional heartbreaks, personal crises, when someone who has perhaps experienced relationships where safety wasn't a given, where it felt like a luxury, when she says, "I feel so safe next to you," she is offering him an invaluable hard-earned gift. She's implicitly saying, "I know what feeling unsafe feels like. I recognize danger, emotional or otherwise. And your presence is the reliable, trustworthy opposite of that."
Wow. So it's acknowledging the depth of her trust, which arguably becomes a more precious and carefully guarded commodity the more life experience you have.
Exactly. It's the ultimate validation of his reliability and trustworthiness, seen through the lens of her accumulated life wisdom. Her experience just amplifies the sincerity and the significance of that statement tenfold. She's trusting him not just with her present, but with the vulnerability that comes from her past experiences, that level of informed trust. It cements a connection that goes far beyond just surface attraction or simple chemistry.
Okay, so we have these four powerful phrases. Psychological dynamite, almost.
Yeah.
But, and this is the recurring theme, the sources absolutely stress they are useless or could even backfire if they're not used with total authenticity and, crucially, the right timing. Rule number one, authenticity is non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable. If these phrases are just pulled out like lines from a script, if they're used as a technique to try and get something from the other person, validation, commitment, whatever, they will fail miserably. They absolutely must come from a genuine place inside, from what the sources call a place of abundance, not a place of emptiness. That distinction is the core difference between authentic connection and, frankly, manipulation.
Okay, that's a critical distinction. We need to unpack that. Abundance versus emptiness. What does vulnerability from emptiness actually look or sound like compared to vulnerability from abundance? Can you give us maybe some concrete examples?
Sure, vulnerability from emptiness often comes across as neediness. It has an underlying tone of lack. It might sound like, "Oh, I'm so lonely, I really hope you can be the one to make me feel better," or "My life feels incomplete, maybe you can fix this for me." It subtly signals that you're looking for a savior or maybe just someone to fill a hole in your life. And mature men, typically having encountered this dynamic before, often sense that pressure, that potential emotional drain, and instinctively pull back. Now, vulnerability from abundance, that comes from a place of inner fullness, of self-sufficiency. It sounds more like, "My life is generally good. It's rich. I'm whole on my own, and I am choosing to share this particular intimate thought or feeling or observation with you because I value you and I trust you." See the difference? You're not asking them to fill a void. You're offering them a glimpse into your already rich inner world. That act of choosing him as the recipient of your authentic sharing, your personal wealth, that's what's deeply attractive. It shows you're selecting him specifically, not just grabbing anyone to make yourself feel complete.
Right. And this loops back to why a mature woman's vulnerability often carries more weight, more credibility.
Exactly. For someone younger, maybe less experienced, sometimes oversharing can come across as just, well, emotional naivete or maybe even boundary issues. But for the mature woman, her vulnerability is usually perceived correctly as a conscious, deliberate choice. She knows the risks involved. She likely carries the scars of past hurts or betrayals. So if she is choosing to open up to him now, it implies he has genuinely earned that privilege, that entry into her sacred space. That deliberate selection conveys an immediate sense of authority and sincerity that, frankly, inexperience just can't replicate.
That lived reality gives her words instant weight.
Okay.
Now, let's talk timing. It's not just what you say, it's the whole choreography of the conversation when you say it.
Timing is absolutely crucial. These phrases, these moments of strategic honesty, they need to land when the conversation has naturally created the right emotional space for them. It's like music, right? It's not just the note. It's when the note is played in the melody that gives it power. If you blurt out, "I admire how you handled that," while he's, I don't know, telling you about his grocery list, it just fizzles. It sounds weird, out of place. So we need to think of using them as emotional accelerators or maybe punctuation points. For example, share that confidence I've never told anyone. Maybe right after he's shared something a bit personal or vulnerable himself. That creates reciprocity, mutual intimacy. Offer the admiration. I admire how you handled that. Ideally, right after he's actually demonstrated that competence, maybe in how he navigated a tricky part of the conversation or recounted overcoming a past challenge with resilience. Use them to deepen a moment, not just fill silence.
And then the moment right after you deliver the line, that's critical too. What happens next is often just as important. You mentioned the power of conscious silence.
Yes. This is where so many people fumble the landing, you could say. They deliver a really impactful line, one of these truth bombs, something potentially profound. And then, maybe because of social awkwardness or discomfort with vulnerability, they immediately rush in. They fill the space with chatter, or they minimize what they just said, or pivot to something else entirely. They basically snatch back the power of the statement. You have to resist that urge. After you deliver that powerful phrase, that moment of genuine connection, you need to pause. Allow the other person, the man in this context, to actually process it, to absorb the weight of the confession or the compliment or the expression of trust. And the silence shouldn't feel awkward. It needs to feel conscious, intentional. It silently communicates, "I meant what I just said. I stand by it. And I'm confident enough to let you sit with it for a moment."
Okay, so deliver the emotionally charged truth, and then let the ripple spread. Let the sonic boom settle, so to speak. What's happening psychologically for him in that silence?
In that silence, the emotional coding we talked about really gets a chance to happen. His brain is actively processing. Wow. She said she feels safe with me. She trusts me with something she hasn't told others. This feels significant. If you immediately jump in with more talk, you interrupt that process. You dilute the impact. You're essentially denying him the space to fully integrate that emotional data point. The ability to hold that space calmly after revealing something vulnerable. That, in itself, is a sign of immense inner strength and confidence, which loops right back to the attractive power of maturity. It solidifies the connection point and helps ensure that memory gets tagged as important, durable.
Okay, this whole deep dive has really reframed how we should think about connection, especially for people who've gathered significant life experience. Let's try and bring it back to the core takeaway message here.
Yeah.
The real power for the mature woman in connection isn't trying to compete on the grounds of youth. It's about leveraging the unique advantages of maturity. That means depth, informed recognition, conscious authenticity.
Exactly. Her life experience gives her words that instant, undeniable credibility. She doesn't need to perform or desperately try to impress in the same way someone younger might feel they have to. She simply needs the courage to authentically express the genuine positive effect the right man has on her. Because she can recognize real value when she sees it, thanks to her experience, offering that recognition makes her a source of high-value emotional reward.
Because the ultimate goal here, as the sources really emphasize, it's not about using a catchy phrase to mark just any guy, right?
Yeah.
It's about connecting authentically with someone who actually deserves to see that genuine, deeply developed version of you, someone who can appreciate the depth you've cultivated over the years.
Precisely. This whole discussion should hopefully empower you, if you're listening, to see that your life story, your experiences, they aren't baggage. They're not a liability. They are potentially your single greatest asset when it comes to forming deep, meaningful connections. Remember, what truly creates that lasting bond isn't some perfect script or strategy. It's usually that authentic, selective, well-timed encounter with someone who dares to be real and who recognizes realness in return.
Okay, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought. Something provocative, maybe, to mull over this week. Reflect on that concept we discussed. Educated admiration. Think about someone important in your life right now. It could be a partner, a friend, a family member. Identify one specific, genuine quality in them, something you truly admire, something you recognize because of your own life experience. Now ask yourself, have you failed to actually articulate that admiration clearly? Maybe you assumed they already knew, or you thought it was obvious, or maybe you felt awkward overdoing praise. The real magic of connection, according to this perspective, often lies in translating that deep lived experience into conscious, verbal, well-timed recognition. Go find that magic. Try it out.
Yeah, and if this discussion has sparked any thoughts, any aha moments about your own communication, or if there are related topics you'd love us to dive into next, maybe more on the neuroscience of trust or navigating vulnerability, Please let us know in the comments section below. We genuinely read them all. Your feedback is what guides us in choosing which complex relationship psychology topics we tackle in future deep dives.
Absolutely. So give us a like if you found this valuable, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and definitely join the conversation in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and keep connecting with profound depth.